Hello and welcome back to another edition of Check It Out. Okay friends, I have my 2013 Toyota Sequoia. This has 80,000 miles on it. I'm going to show you how to change the transmission fluid on this vehicle. Let's take a quick pause. Let's talk about safety. So for this vehicle, I did not raise this vehicle to do this service. I did make sure that I had all four of the tires blocked. It's on a level surface. The vehicle in park with the parking brake set. I also made sure that I let the engine and transmission cool down before I did this procedure. If you do not know how to work on a vehicle safely and go under a vehicle safely, you need to stop right here, educate yourself on how to do that before you proceed with this service. So I watched a whole bunch of videos like you probably are on YouTube, and I don't see a good one that is concise. I see a lot of different approaches. So I kind of blended those together. Here's what I came up with. Mine is fast, easy, and as long as you do it carefully and measure carefully, it will be very accurate as well. So I'll walk you through the materials that you're going to need, and I will also walk you through exactly how I did it and kind of show you what I did. So first of all, don't mess around with what kind of transmission fluid. Go ahead and go on to Amazon or maybe into your local dealer and get this ATF-WS by Toyota. It's got to be the world standard, and you're going to use about 3.5 for this, so go ahead and buy 4 quarts. So that's a must. This is a crush washer. You'll need at least one. I'll explain why I'm saying at least one. Depends on how you feel about crush washers. My point is go ahead and replace them each time. I know some people say that you can reuse them a few times. You can make up your own opinion on that one. You'll need some kind of a container. This is an old oil container that I have right here, and that's basically just to put our old transmission fluid into. These guys over here, gloves, your opinion on that one. Boy, I love these gloves right here, and they seem to last forever as far as having 100 of them in there. You'll need a little bit of duct tape, maybe 6 inches of duct tape. This guy right here is a 24 millimeter socket that you're going to need here. So that's kind of a specialty item. So make sure you have that guy before you get started. My ratchets are all 3/8, so it's hard to find a 24 that goes to a 3/8. I found it on Amazon. So look in the description below. I'll put all these materials on the description, and I'll put a link to each one on Amazon. So that's where I purchased this guy. Worked perfect. And then I have a traditional set of tools too, sockets rather. So you'll need a 14. So a 14, a 24, and then these two guys are really important here. You're going to need something that measures pretty accurately. So this tub right here goes up to 3 liters. I guess it doesn't really matter if it goes to 3 liters, but you need something pretty significant in size and pretty accurate. And also you need something that's going to be able to catch that transmission fluid, and something that you're going to be able to pour that transmission fluid from here into this measuring device. The method I'm going to show you is basically we're going to take out the old oil, transmission fluid. We're going to measure it here accurately, and then we're going to replace it with this right here, and that's it, and that's all. So as you know, there's no dipstick in here, and you can't measure to see what it is, well, at least not the traditional way with a dipstick. So if you know these transmissions, watch some of the other videos if you don't. But there's 3 different plugs on these. There's a drain plug, there's a fill plug, and then there's also a plug that is to check the level. But that plug sounds like a total pain in the neck to me. Watch the other videos, you'll understand why. So we're not even gonna mess with that one that measures it. All we're gonna do is drain it out, measure the exact same amount, put the exact same amount in. So if you'll notice, I didn't talk anything about a pump to pump the transmission fluid in. So here's what we're gonna do. And I stole this from somebody else on YouTube, by the way. Kind of gathered some ideas. So I have 5.5 feet of 3/8 inner diameter tubing running right here, and I just tucked it right in here on the driver's side, tucked it down in there, and I have a small funnel that connected well here, and we're going to leave this guy right up here. And basically all you're going to do is slowly pour your transmission fluid down through this tube here, and it's going to go right into the transmission. You can see here I duct taped, once I got it all set, I duct taped these 2 guys together, and that's just to hold this tube in place. I don't want it falling out of my transmission while I'm trying to put that fluid into it. All right, friends, so I'm gonna duck down below. Bear with me for this. I didn't even jack the vehicle up. Can you do it? Of course. Do you need to do it? You really don't. Once I got this whole thing set up, and I apologize for the camera right now. Once I got this whole process set up, I would say it took maybe 15 minutes to actually change this fluid. So let's take a look at what we've got. All right, so here's our transmission, right? Here's our transmission pan, and then here's your bolts. So this guy that's kind of set up a little bit, that takes this hex, we're not messing with that. That's the one that you can take out to do the measurement, has the little straw in it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look at the other videos. This guy right here is our drain. Oh, that's your drain plug. That is the 14 millimeter. So the first thing you're gonna do is drain out that fluid. And of course, make sure that you are catching every single drop. Be careful with it. 3.5 quarts are gonna come out. And I said that's first. Actually, before you do that, I would strongly suggest that you make sure you open the fill. And the fill is what I'm pointing to right now. That is the 24 millimeter. But right now I've already taken it off just for demonstration purposes. And you can see that I ran my tubing, and I just simply ran it up and from the engine area, and I stuck it right into that hole. That's where the 24 was. So at this point, this drain has been taken off. We've emptied off the 3.5 quarts. I'm saying 3.5, but I'm saying it roughly. You need to measure exactly what you're taking out on yours. And then this guy right here, we're just gonna slowly put it in. I've already done this process, so I can tell you it worked wonderfully. I don't think much more than a couple drops came out. And when I actually did drain it, you know, I spilled a tiny little bit. I mean a tiny little bit. And then also in the process of going from the catch pan to the measuring device, I also spilled a tiny little bit. So what I ended up doing is just calculating out, you know, a rough estimate and just putting a tiny bit more than what I needed back into it to just get the best rough estimate that I can. Actually, I say rough estimate. The honest truth was I thought it was a very accurate measurement. And talking about measurements, here's what I did. So again, we caught it in here. I put my 3 quarts and just measured up to 3 quarts. And then once I measured out those 3 quarts, I then put that into my device over here just to hold it, right? And then I got the rest of this fluid and I poured it into there, and I actually marked the black line. So it was 3 quarts plus, well, this much right here. And that way I knew exactly what I had. And then from that point, I could pour in 3 quarts of new transmission fluid. And then also I poured the 4th bottle up to here. And, you know, I just kind of went up like another half a notch just for like a little bit of spillage, something that might stay in the tube, you know, a little bit like that. So the more accurate you can be, the slower you do this process, the better. And I say slower. Again, once I was all set up, I'm going to say this took 15 minutes at the most. So I know a lot of these other videos are talking about having pumps and heating stuff up and doing all this stuff. This was quick and easy, and I feel extremely confident that I have the right amount of fluid in here. So one more thing I was going to show you. This vehicle is 2013. Right now it's 2018. This vehicle has 80,000 miles on it. I could not decide if I should be doing this or not, if I was wasting my time and being neurotic about or paranoid about, you know, whether I need to change this or not. But let me show you what I found. So here's the old oil right here. I'm just going to stick this guy in here. I say old oil. Of course, I'm talking about the transmission fluid. And I'll just trinkle a little bit down here. Is it burnt and black? No, it's not. But is it looking like new oil or transmission fluid? It's not. So here's the new stuff here. I'm going to sacrifice a pencil. We'll dip a little bit in here. You know, that's what the new fluid looks like. That's the old fluid over there on the right. My opinion is that's the point where you need to start changing it. That looks like it's getting pretty brown to me. And the next stage after that is obviously getting that black and that burnt. And now you've messed up your transmission. So my opinion is, friends, 80,000 miles on a sealed. This is, again, the Sequoia 2-wheel drive. It is a family car. It's definitely not abused or run hard. So I was kind of surprised at how dark that transmission fluid was. So I know a lot of people are saying go 100,000 miles. After doing this, I feel confident 80,000 miles is where to start doing it. Now, the other thing is I say start doing it because you're going to have to keep in mind that this transmission and the torque converter and all the other whatever is going to hold a lot more than 3.5 quarts of transmission fluid. So what a lot of these guys are saying is instead of flushing out every drop, what you want to be doing is just replacing small amounts of this fluid at a time. So I'm gonna guess that this thing probably holds 15 quarts altogether. Total guess. Put a comment down below if I got it wrong, or if you know what it is for sure, put a comment and let me know exactly what it is. I'm gonna guess it's 15 quarts or something right around there. So obviously we've only changed out a small percentage of that today. But what we're gonna do, or at least what I'm gonna do, is start doing every 30,000 miles, I'm gonna start doing the exact same thing I did today. So in 30,000 miles from now, I'll buy 4 more quarts of this world standard, and we'll do the exact same process again. And the idea is that we are not replacing all the fluid, but we're just kind of keeping that fluid at a good cleanliness, if you will, right? Once we start getting to this brown, then we're gonna start dealing with problems with the transmission, getting dirt and grime and really damaging it, or the real way that transmissions are damaged, at least from what I've read and what I've watched on YouTube, is by them overheating. So you get this extra friction in here, and also when the liquids transmission fluid gets this old and gross, past this stage into the black stage, but once it gets that bad, then it doesn't dissipate the heat. And it sounds like the #1 killer on engines and especially transmissions is overheating. And that overheating is what's gonna do in a lot of these transmissions. So get that fluid at the right level. Don't let it overheat. How do you prevent it from overheating? Well, #1 way is have clean fluid in there. Is your fluid ever gonna look like that? No. But every time you do this sort of, what do we wanna call it? A drop, right? Because you drop out 3.5 quarts and then you put in 3.5 quarts-ish. So every time you do that, you're just getting it one step closer to this and one step further away. Really pretty easy. Once you get all these parts, go on Amazon, look in the description below. I'll put links to Amazon for all this stuff. Once you get all your parts and pieces and figure out how to do that tubing, which took honestly 3 minutes to figure out, right? Just do it on the right-hand side, the driver's side. And once you do all that, make sure you have your good measuring devices, your good catch pin, make sure it's all cleaned up, that kind of stuff. And the gloves, I think, are a big bonus as well. Go ahead and duct tape that piece right there so that you're not gonna have that tube wiggling out of the transmission. You don't wanna do that. And again, pretty quick, pretty easy. Felt like a lot of people made this sound like a really hard process on YouTube. My opinion is this isn't hard, just think it through. All right, guys, hey, that's it for now. Do me a favor, if you like this video, hit subscribe. And if you like this video, hit thumbs up. All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Bye.